My princess, please come back to the palace.
Father, I didn't abandon the royalty. I chose a different crown.
The night Princess Amara disappeared, I was the one who saw the first sign that something was terribly wrong. A royal guard ran past me, shouting that the princess had abandoned the palace. But that was not the frightening part. The frightening part was what I saw later in the fields beyond the river, where the Princess of Umora was digging the earth like a common farmer with bare hands and smiling as if the soil itself was whispering secrets to her. I remember the moon was bright enough to make the cassava leaves shine like silver blades that night. People in Umora loved Princess Amara. She was not a child, but a woman of 23, strong-minded, fearless, and curious. She walked through markets without guards, spoke with farmers, fishermen, and traders, and laughed louder than most royals. But the elders always warned that curiosity can open doors that should stay closed. They said the forest spirits listen when a royal heart grows restless. I never believed those stories. I was just a palace messenger carrying notes between chiefs. Yet, that night, I learned some old stories are not stories at all. They are warnings waiting to come true. Earlier that evening, I delivered a message to the princess. She was standing on the balcony watching the far farms outside the city walls. The wind moved through her braids like dark water. She asked me a strange question. Have you ever planted something and watched it grow from nothing? I told her I was a messenger, not a farmer. She laughed softly. Then she said, sometimes I think the soil understands people better than thrones. I thought she was joking. I bowed and left. If you are enjoying this story right now, pause for 1 second, tap like button, follow this channel, and tell me in the comments if you believe in old spirits or not, because what happened next made even the bravest men whisper prayers. That same night, the palace drum started beating the alarm rhythm. Guards searched every hallway, every garden, every tower. Princess Amara was gone. No broken gate, no sign of struggle, just an empty room and muddy footprints leading toward the farms. I followed those prints because I was the last person who spoke with her. The trail crossed the river and ended in a wide cassava field. And there I saw her, the Princess of Umora, kneeling in the soil, wearing a simple farmer cloth. Her royal beads were gone. Her fingers were deep in the dirt. She was planting yam seeds one by one like she had done it her whole life. I called her name. Princess Amara, it is me, the palace messenger. She slowly looked up. Her eyes were calm, too calm, like someone who had already crossed a river you cannot return from. She smiled and said, "You came just in time. The earth is hungry tonight." I felt cold fear crawl through my chest because that was not the voice of the princess I knew. It was softer, deeper, older, like many voices hiding behind one mouth. I asked what she meant. She pushed another seed into the ground and said, "The land asked for a royal hand to feed it. The throne refused, so I came myself." I thought she was joking or maybe caused by some forest charm. I tried to pull her up, but the moment my hand touched her arm, the soil around us started moving like breathing. My heart pounded. The ground was alive. Princess Amara whispered again, "The earth remembers every king who forgot the farmers." Then she looked straight at me and said, "Tonight, it takes a princess instead." I wanted to run, but my legs would not move. The soil around her arms was slowly covering them like dark water. She kept planting seeds calmly, even as the earth climbed higher. I shouted for help, but the farms were silent except for the wind. Finally, I grabbed a hole lying nearby and tried digging her out, but every hole I made filled again with soft soil, as if the land was protecting her. Princess Amara laughed quietly and said, "Do not fight it, messenger. This is the price of a kingdom that forgot its soil." My mind raced. The kingdom was rich, but the farmers had been complaining for years about taxes and dry land. The king ignored them, focusing on trade and war. Maybe the spirits were angry? I did not know what to believe. But then the biggest shock came. Princess Amara stopped planting. She looked at her hands, now covered in soil, and whispered, Wait, something is wrong. The earth wanted a royal who loves the land more than power. Then she stared at me with sudden fear and said, I was not the sacrifice, I was the seed. Before I could understand, the ground burst open. A deep crack ran across the field like lightning trapped in the dirt. From that crack rose fresh green shoots fast, too fast. Within seconds, tiny plants grew tall, leaves wide-eyed shining under the moon. The soil released her arms and legs. She stood up shaking but alive. Around us, the empty field was now full of young crops stretching toward the sky. I could barely breathe. Princess Amara looked at the growing farm and whispered, the earth did not want my death, it wanted my choice. She picked up a handful of soil and said, if I stay in the palace, these crops die by morning. But if I stay here and walk this land as a farmer, the harvest will feed Umora for generations. I stared at her, unable to speak. A princess leaving the throne for death and sweat sounded impossible. Yet the field around us kept growing stronger, greener, like proof from the spirits. She looked at me again. If people ask, tell them the truth. A kingdom survives on farms, not crowns. The next morning, the whole kingdom woke to rumors. Some said the princess was cursed, others said she had gone mad. I told the council what I saw. They laughed at first until farmers arrived from the river carrying baskets full of fresh crops grown overnight. The elders fell silent. When the king heard the story, he rode to the field himself expecting lies. Instead, he found his daughter, barefoot, planting rows beside ordinary farmers, sweat on her face, dirt on her hands. The king shouted that she must return home. But Princess Amara stood straight and said, Father, the throne feeds pride, the soil feeds people. Choose which crown you want to wear. The farmers watched silently. The king looked around at the endless green field and finally lowered his voice. My daughter, you would leave royalty for mud? She answered calmly, I am not leaving royalty. I am redefining it. A ruler should know the weight of soil on their hands. The king had no answer. That day, Princess Amara gave up the palace and stayed in the farms. Years passed. Umora became the richest farming land in the region. People called her the farmer princess. And listen carefully because here is the twist most people never hear. I am not just the messenger who watched that night. I am the son of the woman who taught Princess Amara how to plant those seeds. My mother was a poor farmer the palace once ignored. The princess secretly visited her many times, learning how soil breathes, how rain smells, how patience grows food. That night, when the earth moved, it was not magic alone. It was years of love for the land answering her heart. The spirits only opened the door. She had already chosen the path. If this story gave you chills, hit the like button right now. Drop a comment saying Farmer Princess and share this story with someone who thinks power only lives in palaces because the ending matters more than you think. I still visit that field sometimes. The crops are always strong, the soil always warm. And sometimes, late at night, when the wind moves through the cassava leaves, I hear a familiar laugh carried across the farm. Princess Amara, older now, but still planting, still leading without a throne. If this story reminded you that real leadership grows from humility, make sure you subscribe right now, like the video, share it with friends, and tell me in the comments, would you give up a crown to feed your people? Because the legend of the princess who turned into a farmer is not just a story in Umora, it is a warning that the land listens, and one day it may ask another ruler the same question Princess Amara answered with her hands in the soil and her heart wide open. Remember, kingdoms rise and fall, but the earth always stays watching, waiting for leaders brave enough to kneel and plant hope again.